Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward, joined as always by my co-host and my favorite guy to talk with on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. Zach, it's our 1-year anniversary at Lettermen Row. An exciting time. You've been a big part of it.
Very exciting, yeah.
We have to give you a lot of props and help, for the way you've helped us out in year one.
I appreciate it. It was fun, yeah. I want to know what my title is, though, on the website. Am I co-host? Am I even on there? Do I have a headshot?
Head Letterman. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I like it.
We'll come up with something for you.
I tell you what, it's been a fun ride. We're doing this show on the 1-year anniversary, and it feels like we just started this thing yesterday, and the way it's taken off and the support that we have from all of our fans at Lettermen Row, it's awesome, and we can't wait to keep on growing it and hopefully keep on having fans enjoy what we're doing.
Sometimes I can't decide if year one flew by or if it crawled by, because there was so much that we had to cover in year one.
That's true.
And it's like some days were a real test, and we had a bunch of shows in here where it was like,
yeah, I don't know if we will ever have a bigger year when it comes to covering material from, you want to talk about the Zach Smith stuff last summer, to Urban early on in the fall, his suspension, to Urban leaving, to Justin Fields, the biggest recruit Ohio State's, or the highest rate recruit Ohio State's ever gotten, right? Transferring to Ohio State. There is just the Ryan Day transition, right? Just so much material happened year one, and we're here covering every single step.
Yeah. Dwayne Haskins in the Heisman, a Rose Bowl appearance. You almost forget about the stuff that happened.
I forgot about the stuff that happened on the field, right? Yeah.
It put us to work, but we appreciate everyone who has watched one video, clicked on one story, watched Zach break down Buckeye Q's. Byers Auto for sponsoring Lettermen Live. We're going to get to Burma later on to get some recruiting updates, talk about what's happening here in June. But it's also been DB week for us at Lettermen Row. We've been trying to mix it up in the summer to give some fresh content and look at all the positions. And so like we did a couple weeks ago with Beanie, I decided I'm going to make Zach draft a secondary. We'll go head-to-head, see who can come up with a better one. When we get done, if you have a group that you want to throw out there, your best 4, 2 corners, 2 safeties, if you want to play 3 corners and move them around, I don't know.
Bring it on,
We'll see what happens.
Some people may throw the nickel package at us and then, draft everything around.
Well, you look at these positions, and we said this with the defensive line a couple weeks ago. I mean, you could get 3, 4 units rolling strong, guys with NFL ability and All-American honors. It's kind of crazy the amount of talent that's come through this program.
It's insane, right? And it's been going on for a while now. The argument of Ohio State being DBU, and it really can be, right? When you sit back and you think about the DBs that have come through Ohio State over the years, it's incredible the talent that they've had on the field in college, but also the amount of success that they've had at the next level. And I know everyone compares LSU and Ohio State, but I mean, honestly, you look at some of these guys that we're going to name off in draft, I think Ohio State has to be DBU.
I think the telling part will be the ones that we leave out.
That's true.
When you get another roster.
No hard feelings.
So since you're my co-host and since we rely on you so much, I'm going to have to give you the #1 pick.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to let you kick it off.
Do you know what? This is a guy who a lot of people say he may not be the best DB to ever come out of Ohio State, but it's a guy that I grew up watching, and I had so much respect for him because of everything that he was able to do on the field, and that's Chris Gamble. And the reason why I drafted him is because he was a lockdown corner. He did a lot on special teams, did a lot on offense, and I know this is a DB thing, but in my mind it's still a player standpoint, right? So if I'm taking a #1 pick from Ohio State when it comes to the DBs, I'm going with Chris Gamble at corner.
Wow, that's big. You got to start with that lockdown guy. You've left 2 or 5 really good ones for me.
Yep, for sure.
I think I'm going to take Sean Springs with my top picks. We've got a couple corners off the board. Just, as you said with Gamble, this is another guy with that pure athleticism off the board. You get the football in his hands, look out what's going to happen, maybe going the other way. Big time. I'm going to feel good putting him out on a corner. I'm not going to have to double team anybody with my secondary, and neither will you. So I feel really good about that start. Curious to see where you go now. Going to safety or corner #2.
See, I feel like whatever way I go, you're going the opposite. And I'm a little, I feel like I should go with one guy, but I'm going to go with another. And the 2 guys I'm thinking of that I kind of wanted to draft are probably the 2 hardest hitting DBs to ever come out of Ohio State. The guy I'm going to go with, though, because it all starts at the corner position, right, and be able to lock guys down and be able to come up and make hits and be aggressive and play really good man-to-man coverage. So I'm going with Antoine Winfield. This is a guy that everyone has said through, when John Cooper was here, and there's so many guys that still stay around the Woody Hayes, but as a player, when I was there, he was the guy that everyone always brought up and said, pound for pound, he was the toughest player to ever come out of Ohio State and the hardest hitter, pound for pound, to ever come out of Ohio State. So in my mind, in the way that I like football, right, and the way that I've always played, Antoine Winfield's my number 2 pick at corner.
All right. No offense to the safeties out there, but just you got to have these lockdown corners anymore. If we're playing football right now.
All right.
And it's a recency thing for me. Denzel Ward is one of the most physically gifted guys, and I was really torn because I like the personality of Marshawn Lattimore. I got to do a bunch of stories with him and the way he grew up in that Cleveland area. Now Denzel's up there with the Browns. Just that speed. And you talk about somebody who hit. I mean, he had that unreal targeting penalty that should not have existed. He's able to do that stuff and come up.
Let's not even get on the targeting rule.
Yeah, well, I don't need to work you up on that today. But I think, just for me, I love watching Denzel Ward play, the speed, the physical ability with him. And you could have done anybody from this run that Kerry Combs put together.
They were unbelievable.
Just might never be duplicated what they did. Pretty insane. But for me, I'm going to give Denzel the nod. Just think about that. We're only a couple of years removed from watching Ohio State with Denzel Ward, Marshawn Lattimore, and Garyon Conley playing 3 corners. It's like, and Denzel was the 3rd one in the mix. And they had to be like, hey, he's really a starter. And he was. But
and right before that, you're even forgetting guys like Bradley Roby and Eli Apple, who are both 1st-round picks. And I mean, those guys were right then.
I was thinking about that too. With as much as I like Lattimore's personality, I'll never forget, that first year that I covered Ohio State. You're on the team, 2012. I'm sure you have some Bradley Roby stories from the locker room, but basically calling that shot. He hadn't had an interception all year. Like, when are you going to get your hands on it? It was right before the Nebraska game. He said, it's coming. He goes out,
to the house.
picks 6 to the house. That was a huge play in that game, too.
It was a huge play, and he was a great player, obviously, and still doing big things in the NFL. Okay, so now both my corners are covered. I'm going to safety. And I can't believe you left this guy hanging for me because I was terrified that you were going to take him. But I may have the most dangerous defensive backs in
You're going to get called for a million targetings if you're doing
but it doesn't matter. We're targeting everyone. My pick at safety is Jack Tatum.
I knew it.
And by far, this is a guy who I grew up going to the diabetes event that he put on, him and a bunch of great people, and my man John Hicks, and the assassin would get up every single year right before the Ohio State-Michigan game and tell stories, and people would talk about the hits that he had, and granted, it was way before my time, but who hasn't seen the videos? The guy, he wasn't called the assassin for anything, right? He was a dangerous man on the field, and he may go down as people say the hardest hitter to ever play the safety position in all of college football. So my 3rd pick and first safety taken off the board is Jack Tatum.
Boy, they're going to be picking up so many flags on the field for your squad.
It's okay.
Be unreal. That's a Zach Boren team if I've ever seen one so far. For me, and then I'll go to the new age guy, the poster boy. Ohio State maybe didn't get as much production out of him as he thought. Hadn't even been playing football that long when he showed up. But Malik Hooker, just the freak. The one season of watching him start was off the charts. I've never seen anybody explode with that kind of athleticism. Great basketball player. That was he was determining which way he was going to go in high school. And then once he chose that, I mean, boy, the upward trend with the way he's taken off. He hasn't been able to do it yet. And I think people might be forgetting about that with the injuries with the Colts. His NFL career hasn't started. But, man, that flash, that 1 year, sort of like Dwayne Haskins for me in that regard. You don't have to see him for 3 or 4 years to know that that's one of the most special players that Ohio State's ever had. So I want the freak flying around as my playmaker back there.
Everyone talks about Sean Taylor being like the greatest safety of all time and him being that center fielder. And no one really gets that comparison. But when he was coming out, people compared Malik Hooker to Sean Taylor. And I think that goes to show what a player he was, how he was able to read the quarterback's eyes and place them in the field. So that's a great pick. My number 4, to finish off my other safety. So this is a guy who, in the state of Ohio, besides Andy Katzmore, may be known as the greatest Ohio high school football player of all time. He's a guy that went to Ohio State, still did great things, won a national championship for him, and that's my guy Mike Doss. This is a guy who Wasn't the tallest, lengthiest guy, but he was a guy who, when we talk about instincts, we talked about instincts all last year, right, when we're breaking down film.
Yep.
This is a guy who had instincts. He was a guy who could sit back in the middle of the field and read a quarterback's eyes. He's a guy that could play 15 yards off the ball and still come down on a run play and fit within a 5-yard box. This was a guy who just knew what was going on at all times and kept that defense together. So with my final pick, I'm going with Mike Doss.
I really wanted Mike Doss there to fall to that last spot for me. It didn't happen. I have a ton of options available to me. I'm tempted. I'm not going to do it. A guy that you played with, Christian Bryant, he's always overlooked, I think.
You wanted to, what probably my favorite player. That if there's two, obviously I loved everyone I played with, but from a respect standpoint, there were two guys I played with that I've got the most respect for when it comes to what they did on the field, their attitude on the field, and that was Christian Bryant and Ryan Shazier. So I would have loved that pick. Christian, I'm sorry, buddy. I wanted to pick you. If this was my pick, I would have gotten you.
If he had this is not a knock against Christian. He's come down actually during the year one at Lettermen Live. We were happy to have him. But if he had just a little bit more of what Von Bell had athletically, that would push him over the top. Because everything you just said, A to Z, those characteristics, you love having him on the football field. I think there's still this debate amongst fans, I'm sure. I know that it happens in the media. Why did it take so long for Von Bell? Why didn't he play as a freshman? You know, these debates and this and that. I know it's not that easy for guys, but just you rarely see that. He earned every bit of that 5-star from his athleticism standpoint. Great football IQ. You still making money, still cashing checks in the NFL. You know what he's doing, what he's capable of. So, I mean, you can accuse me of having that recency bias. That's fine. I've only covered the team since 2012. But what I saw with Von Bell and Malik Hooker, truly special. Feel really good about my corners, obviously. And, yeah, I did draw from the last 20 years, and that's no offense to those guys back in the 70s, but the game is a little bit different.
That's okay. You know what? I like your Von Bell pick, and if I were to go back and look at the national championship run in was it 14? I would say from the Big Ten championship game in the two playoff games, Von Bell was probably the difference maker, especially what he was able to do in that Alabama game. He had an interception, the tackles that he came up and made, the way that he was able to shadow Marcus Mariota, right, at Oregon, just the difference that he was able to make on the field those last 3 games. I don't mind that pick.
All right.
Granted, I think my team is so much better. I'm pulling back from, you know, some of the archives, right, way back when, but you line up my team, we're some bad dudes, and guess what? We bring it every single play.
Old school football. So feel free to let us know either on Twitter, YouTube, in the comments on the site. Who did it better? Who do you have on your all-time Ohio State secondary? That's been a fun breakdown. Just one more thing before you go this week, Zach. Lettermen Live brought to you by Byers Auto. Can DBU, can BIA get it back going this year? Jeff Hafley, there's a lot on his plate, and we've said this before on a breakdown a couple weeks ago. It's not going to be for lack of talent. These guys have more than enough to get it done.
I think they're back. I think bringing in a new coach, a new defensive philosophy, that's kind of what we've talked this offseason, right, is that the philosophy going into next year from a defensive standpoint is going to be so much different. They're going to get back to the Kerry Combs way of, hey, playing a lot of man-to-man coverage, being physical, kind of being able to be out there and play carefree a little bit, right? It's almost like the past couple years they've had too much on their minds. They're thinking about way too much. I think they're going to get back to a simple kind of defense. Man, and you're going to see some guys, I think, that could be drafted really high. You know, Brendan White, if he continues what he's doing, he could be the first or second safety taken off the board. Okuda, right? How high could he go? They're saying he could be a top 10, 15 pick right now, right? Even a guy like Sean Wade, right? The way that he's going to be able to free up and be able to play from the nickel position and go back deep and play safety. I mean, he's going to be a highly drafted guy. Jordan Fuller, I mean, these guys have so much talent that the sky's the limit for them, and I just think the different approach to the way they go about practice, the different approach to the way they go about a game is going to make a complete difference in their playing ability on the field. Yeah,
big things coming. A lot of tradition, obviously, in the Ohio State secondary to live up to for those guys. Appreciate Zach, as always, hanging out with us. Happy 1-year anniversary to
happy 1-year anniversary.
Thanks.
I haven't had to say this for a long time. Being a single guy, it's like, what do you do for a 1-year anniversary? Was I supposed to bring in flowers and wine?
No, we don't do that in here.
Okay.
I mean, that's not just a helmet and
okay, fair
some
enough.
targeting flags. That'd be good.
Fair enough.
Just give us a nice hit, or maybe bring us in one of those framed photos of you in 2012 that are all over town. So Zach, as always, we appreciate him so much for hanging out with us and getting us going through year one.